What horrible, ridiculous names have you heard parents choose to call their children? Baby girl, yes, this was their legal name. My neighbor was the 12th kid. His parents named him Twelver. That's gotta be the worst I've ever seen. Nevi. It's heaven backwards. Anyone that tells you their daughter is named Neve will also tell you that it's heaven spelled backwards. Every time. An ex had friends who named their kids Hate and Rage. Hate and Rage. Good luck, kids. I once encountered a plump young woman whose name, according to her ID, was Rotunda. I work at a college and often go through the new applications to process them. I've seen all kinds. Most ridiculous name I've seen thus far though, Starscream Anakin as his first and middle names. He has a normal last name. When I first saw it, I was certain that it was a kid effing with our application system. Then I met him in person, and he showed me his ID. His name is legally Starscream Anakin. I get the Anakin part, but of all the Transformers to name your kid after, why on earth make it Starscream? He was just awful. When I was pregnant, my now ex-Mil wanted me to name our son Rock, which is stupid as it is, but the last name is Bowler, so my son's name would be Rock Bowler, and I couldn't do that to the poor kid. My ex thought it would be funny to name him Rocky with the middle name Bal, so his name would be Rocky Bal Bowler. I went to high school with a guy named Zip Dob. His middle name was Adido. They named that mother for Zip Adido Dob. KF. Had a little boy in my program named Rowdy. Kind of rednecky, but whatever. Then I found out his older brother is named Howdy. WTF, found out later that the older boy's legal name is Howard. That's less ridiculous, at least. November. I went to high school with a guy named John. Yes, his first name, middle name and last name were all John. Had a boy in our school named Avante. Pronounced Avant. Mother insisted the accent made the E silent. She would come completely unglued when anyone said his name wrong. Lady, that's Avante. Update. IKR? I have no idea why she didn't just leave off the E altogether. The sad thing is, she really thought it would make it silent. She was really angry about it. If she were a nicer person, I would have felt sorry for her, as I'm sure no one really challenged it until he got to school and people saw it written versus just hearing it. It got to be where after pre-K we'd warn each teacher about how to pronounce it, so spare them the wrath and the incorrect grammar lesson from mom, but no one could help it. Liberty. My mother is a genealogist and discovered that my great-great-great something grandparents were named Lettuce and Nimrod. A power couple update. I spoke with my mom and she said that her name was Lettuce with an I, so y'all were right. And it probably wasn't pronounced lettuce like I imagined, but rather Letitia or something. They were married around the 1840s. The joys of genealogy. Another update. Thanks for silver, my first reward. Well, let's just say that the state I live in doesn't have a significant English-speaking population, especially in the rural regions, despite the official language of the country, India, being English and most of the urban population being educated. However, I have friends whose parents gave them names like Benadryl, Goodbye, very helpful, and the absolute worst, Dishwasher. This, however, is because people from the rural regions, especially in the Northeast, come to the cities and see words in ads and billboards that they find pretty and innocently name their children after a variety of brands. I don't always blame them. I had a family friend who came off as very posh and educated, spoke perfect English, but named his daughter Darth Vader. Some of them are just trolling. Do not underestimate people of the hills. They don't take your bulls, educated or otherwise. The kid's name was William. Unfortunately for the kid, he had a nickname that was spelled Liam. That doesn't sound so bad until you hear the pronunciation, Yum. Like William, they called their child Yum and spelled it Liam. No teacher in my classes with him could ever say his name correctly, so he eventually gave up and we all called him the normal-sounding Liam. Christ gift, Christ will and Christ good all siblings. Bless their hearts. Some friends of mine in high school knew a girl named Cash Money. Met her once and she said her name with some made-up accent. One recently I ran into was Katie Ains. A family friend named his son Sir and it's pretty cringe. Honorable mention goes to the former coworker who named his daughter Khaleesi. Edit. Also knew a stripper whose real name was Curiosity. Her parents doomed her. I read somewhere that some French people wanted to name their daughter Fraise, French for strawberry, and they got denied by the effing government. Lol. My friend went to high school with Richard Noggin. This was a nickname but my aunt called my cousin, my little dingleberry, for 10 years without knowing what it actually meant until my mother told her. Saw a mother at the grocery store with two annoying rowdy kids named Dillinger and Maverick. They drove away in a lifted pickup truck. I imagine the father is a total D-nose. OK Arthur Doug. We called him OK. He was the youngest of 5 kids. Fancy, named after the Reba song, and her sister Truly, named after Truly. Scrumptious from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Secret Love. She was a kid my mom met when my mom worked at a pediatrician's office. Secret Love's mom laid out the whole story to my mom about the name. Wednesday Passion. That was a little girl I used to babysit. My favorite I saw while working as a banker was Subway Club Ali's supreme middle name, last name. His parents named him this and he wanted a loan to open a weed store in a state where it is illegal. To clarify, his middle name is middle name. I forgot the last name, but it was just a normal last name. My mom worked in a maternity ward and a family with the last name Dollar named their infant child Naida. Poor kid. This will probably get lost in the comments, but one time I saw a post that was making fun of the name Brinley, for being a white name that a Karen would give their child, and that's my name. Latrina. Met a kid named Bo once. Learned later he had a twin brother named Arrow. Graduated with a girl named Bodacious. Edit. As a side note, when I was in basic training I met a Native American fella whose name was Nose His Gun. Just thought that was a badass name and I've never forgotten it. Heard a lady yell at her kid. Graceland, Tennessee, stop running around. The neighbor of my dad's ex had a son and daughter called Blaze and Angel. I don't understand the strange spelling. Neighbor's kid is called Exodus. I thought that was weird. Then again, his mother's name is Peaches. I went to high school with Apt, Princess, Sweetheart, Destiny, Styles, Crescent Moon and Ryan. Not all the same time with the grade shift in high schools. Yeah, I also know a kid named Rocket, but I think that's kinda cool, and hired someone named Candy Bar. Gaylord. A girl I went to high school was named Martini and her last name was Pitts. She also had a brother named Harold. Guess what they called him? Chevy, because he was conceived in the bed of a Chevy truck. Brick, not sure of the spelling, but I'm serious. I worked at a registrar office, had a transcript come through for Queen Fudge. Yo Majesty. Stuvwxy. Pronounced as Sky. Squire Sebastian Senator was pretty bad. I knew a dude named Kron. My personal least favorite for girls is Paisley. It sounds dumb and it's an ugly print. 40 and love Quinn. My mom's class had a 5-year-old girl named Trinket. What kind of STI parent do you have to be to name your child after a small item of little to no value? Went to grad school with a bunch of Chinese international students. One was a guy named Jason Wang, no big deal on that name, but his girlfriend's name was Wanting Guo. I was ready to pay for their wedding if she took his last name. I can only imagine the look on someone's face getting a resume with the applicant's name, Wanting Wang. Mia Khalifa, but a boy. I still remember this episode of Maury where the mom introduced the baby and his name was Kevin. But it was spelled with a Q at the start instead of a K, a bunch of silent consonants, and I swear I saw a 7 in there. It was a nightmare. Reason number 327 why I should never have a kid. In high school, I was adamant that when I had a son, I would name him Pyro. Sprinkle cause she looked like a little sprinkle when she was born, so they say. My mom's friend named her son Zachary, but instead it was spelled Chakuri. My sister met some kids in an international airport named Yellow, Flash, and No Exit. My sister asked No Exit why his mom picked that name. He said when she couldn't think of anything else, she saw a no exit sign from her maternity bed and settled on that. Went to school with a guy named Dude. He was named after his granddad. There was a college football quarterback in Missouri whose first name was Cocaine, named after his granddad. I worked with a lady named Crystal Wineglass. Not my child, but a guy that works for us has been given the nickname Asf. Hearing people nonchalantly say, "Hey Asf, run to the van and grab another box of cable," without blinking an eye is really something else. At my school there's a grade 6 boy named Smart. Zambia has names like that. I love my country and people. I had a girlfriend in college named Senra. Her dad wanted a boy named Ernest. They compromised when it turned out she was a girl. This was before the advent of ultrasound. An acquaintance growing up was named Tommy Lee. He married a girl named Jasmine Lee. Had a baby which they named, wait for it, Heaven Lee. Probably should have just gone with Yuga. I went to school with a guy named Jacques. He had a half-brother about 12 years younger named Jacques, pronounced Jaquez. Real name, Sili Batman bin Suparman. He's a guy in Indonesia. Real name, awful for other reasons, Null. Any kid with that name will have no end of trouble with databases. Hoax name. Every now and again someone swears to have a friend who knew a person named Lai where the hyphen is pronounced as dash, so La-A. This was investigated by Snopes and found to be a hoax. This is for the Quebec crowd. My daughter's gym teacher is called Maeva Eve. I mean, come on. The next worst I met was Kilane. Melanie Mizavek Unk. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to get more of the best posts.